I have a question for you. This class is political radicals, and you're exposing kids to think for themselves. Is that the intention of the class? What's the
Yeah, I think part of it is to expose students to why folks are protesting the system, why they engage in activism, what some folks would call radicalism. So a lot of it's about dissent, on a variety of different levels.
is the is the purpose of the class to expose radicals, or to say maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong? What is the underall theme?
Yeah, I think part of it is, the course is American Political Thought and Radicalism, and part of the class is, I think what we try to do is to say, okay, first, who gets, why do people get called radicals? Second of all, why do they embrace what would be called radicalism? And it's interesting. This week we kind of were talking and saying, what constitutes radical? Is being a radical a bad thing? Can you be a good radical? Is radical something that's always associated with violence? Is radicalism based more on the ideas that one has? Could, and I develop this a little bit more, but I use, for example, the civil rights movement, and as a case study, and say, okay, well, was Martin Luther King a radical, or the Black Panthers a radical, and more of and not necessarily coming up with hard and fast definitions, but more of kind of to explore, because it is a very subjective term. So, but part of it, part of what we want to do is, okay, folks who are active, whether you call them radicals or not, tend to see the world in a binary. There's good and evil. And radicals are folks who see themselves inside of good, and they want to fight for a better world. The question then becomes, well, A, what do they want? B, how do they bring about change? And at what point do you, if you distrust the system, do you have to work outside of the system? And I think that would get you into kind of the grounds of radicalism. And then we kind of shift gears, and we kind of look at different, like, contemporary movements, and we're going to be studying LGBTQ rights, systemic racism, feminism, animal rights, and there's a range of activism that takes place. So we're students on the whole don't become radical. If anything, it makes them, it tends to be a little more moderate, but they are very intrigued. Many folks want to know more. They're exposed to a lot. They just don't know a lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So for a lot of the students there, part of our discussion is to say, okay, we're focusing on flat Earth, but and you've said this in the past, is that, okay, if you're being lied to about the flat Earth, then what else is out there? And so then folks begin to ask those questions, and then it's to say, okay, well, if there are people out there who are working against our best interests, then how do we respond? To what degree are they working against us? And so some folks will be like, yeah, they're other folks will be like, it's just conspiracy or whatever. So Eastern time. So I'll give you like a 5-minute warning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I don't remember which questions exactly, but there's one or more kids in your class that's already a flat earther. I can tell by their questions.
That's already what?
There's one or more kids in your class that is coming from a flat earth perspective by the look of his questions.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good. Well, let me kids are starting to arrive. What I'll have to do is I'll have to take attendance, and then we'll get rolling. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in intro because we have a lot to cover. But it is good to have an opportunity to speak with Flat Earth Dave. And what I'm going to do is spin you around, so spin him around so that you can see him and he can see you. Everybody wave hi. All right. David, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chat with us. So I think what we'll do is give you a few moments to kind of introduce yourself, kind of set forth where you're coming from, and then we'll follow up with some of the questions that the students have written for you.
All right, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm going to go through a lot of information kind of quick. And at the end of this class, if you think the Earth is flat, you're not using your critical mind, because you need more than what I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to point to some doors that you've never seen before. Then you got to take the time to verify everything yourself, because belief is the enemy of knowing. Because belief is easy. You could read something in a textbook, you could believe it, and you're done. Now you can go take a nap, do whatever you want. But if you want to know it, you have to go verify it. You have to test it, measure it. Use the scientific method if that applies, and verify things, because anybody can tell you anything. And I want to tell you that your teachers are not lying to you when they teach you false information. It's just what they were taught. It's what they believe. Not everything is false, so I'm not that guy. But there's a lot of false stuff, false history, false geology, false cosmology, especially. And where I came from is I was people would call me a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst. A conspiracy is when two or more people get together to conspire for their own benefit. If you don't think that happens even in your own house, you're not really thinking, because it happens all the time, every day, everywhere. And the higher you get up in power, the more conspiratorial plotting goes on. So the Earth being flat, come on, that's crazy. When we all have the same story. When we first heard the Earth is flat, we're like, that is the dumbest thing ever. Everyone knows the Earth is flat. I mean, everyone knows the Earth is a globe. Look at me, Freudian slip. And when we think of flat Earth, when we Google flat Earth, this is what Google will serve you. This is not what flat Earth is. This is what they want you to think flat Earth is, so you laugh at it and never look at it again. That is nothing to be like flat Earth. People are like, if the Earth is flat, are all the other planets flat? Absolutely not. The other planets, that's another thing. Have you ever seen a planet? You've seen the light in the sky. Nobody can tell you how far it is, how big it is, what it is. The only people that can show you pictures of it are NASA and Disney, which is kind of strange that they work together. Again, this is we're not a disk floating in space. So if the Earth is flat, what does that mean? Where's the edge? Are you going to fall off? This is a balloon at 127,000 feet. Okay. The Earth is supposedly spinning 1,000 miles an hour, disconnected from the balloon below it. But when we send this balloon up, it's up there for about 3.5 hours. It comes down. It comes down east of where we put it down. Well, if the Earth is spinning to the east, it should land thousands of miles to the west. But somehow it outruns the spin of the Earth and lands in front of it, which makes no sense. And if you look, this sun, they tell us, is 93 million miles away. How come it's lighting up just this local area? To me, this moon doesn't look much higher than the balloon. What is the sun? We can get into that if we have some time a little bit later. So if the Earth is flat, what does it look like? Where is my this is a kind of a model of what the Earth would look like. So we live in the pond. The water is contained. All large bodies of water need containment. Large bodies of water at rest lie flat. You can test this yourself. Anything bigger than, let's just say, a gallon of water, so you can take surface tension out, like a drop of water will be round. But any large body of water at rest lays flat, and water needs containment. Well, this is the containment of our flat Earth pond. It's called Antarctica. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth, something they won't tell you. Its walls are like 200 feet higher than the ocean, and it contains our water. So when people say, how come the water doesn't fall off the edge of the Earth? I'm like, how come the water doesn't fall off the ball Earth? How do you get water to stick to a ball evenly? And the last thing, and then we'll go into some of the questions you guys had, was, if you're taught about one of the laws of thermodynamics is high pressure needs to equalize into low pressure. Air pressure needs a container. So the story is, after the Big Bang, which is a whole nother, we can do an hour on the Big Bang, is that we live on a lumpy rock. surrounded by smooth water that has curvature that no one has ever been able to measure. And it's surrounded by high pressure air or atmosphere, which is adjacent to a void, a vacuum of no pressure. Vacuums are rated in torr. I think the space is a torr 17 vacuum, which is practically zero particles in it. And we can't even recreate that here on Earth. On Earth, we have I think it's called the Sandusky vacuum chamber. I think they get down to like Tor 10 or Tor 7. And the walls are 10 feet thick, made of steel and concrete. And if they were any less thick, they would just implode upon each other, upon themselves, because of the lack of pressure. So how do we have high pressure next to a vacuum? And the only answer you can come up with is with gravity, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But gravity cannot hold air down if I'm able to suck air up with a straw, right? How can the weak, low pressure of my lungs pull air and water up and away from Earth if gravity is holding it down adjacent from this vacuum? So once you understand that that is a scientific impossibility, then everything in outer space, which is a fake region, can equally be disqualified. But we'll get into that. So where do you want to go from here? Want to hit some questions?
Let's do this there. Why don't I ask you a couple questions that the students have written down, and then after that we can go and just open it up. Okay, does that sound all right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yep. All right. So you mentioned this at the end, and this actually is one of the questions that was written was, how do you think gravity works? So could you elaborate on that?
So, yeah, gravity is a theory. If you ask the high priest of scientism, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he was asked, what is gravity? And he goes, we don't know. We don't know. And gravity, first it was Newtonian gravity. That's what you guys were all taught, that mass attracts mass. And the bigger the mass, the more gravity it has. Well, it's funny that, Jupiter, they say, has more gravity than all of the other planets in the solar system, but Jupiter's made out of 99% helium and hydrogen, which defies gravity here on Earth. And how do you have helium and hydrogen collapsing into a ball in space when every experiment ever in all of time shows gases fill the available space? So that's just an impossibility right there. And the other thing with gravity, it doesn't work. So they have to make up dark matter and dark energy. No one's ever seen it. No one's ever heard of it. No one's ever measured it, but it has to be there for gravity to work. So their theory doesn't work 96%. But they say, well, it has to work. Therefore, there has to be gravity. If you have a theory that's 96% wrong, you don't get to make up things to make it work. That's called pseudoscience. You throw out the theory and you try to come up with a better theory. If I owed, if you lent me $100 and the next day I gave you back $4 and I said, there you go, we're even. You're like, wait, where's the other 96? I go, they're dark dollars. Don't worry. They're there. You're just going to have to believe me. That is equivalent to gravity. So they want you to believe, that we're crazy because we think down is down. Here's us, South America, Australia, America. Down is down when on a ball spinning in a scientifically impossible space vacuum, people are standing antipodal to each other, spinning around, right? If the Earth is spinning like this, think of the centrifugal force. This guy would be straight, but a guy standing here, he'd be like, the centrifugal force would make him lean over, right? It's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. I know that's only once per day, but imagine if you were on a merry-go-round and you're on the outside horse and it's a 24,000-mile around merry-go-round. It's going 1,000 miles per hour and it's curving to the left. If it's going clockwise, it's curving to the left at a mile per minute. A mile per minute. Don't tell me you wouldn't feel the centrifugal force of that, because you would. So what is gravity? Well, everything in this world, it has an electrostatic force to it. Everything, 100%. That's the scientific. That is just 100%. Testable and provable, and I'll show you right now. I'm trying to find where's my thing right here. So the Earth is a giant battery, if you will, right? Down the Earth has a negative charge, the air has a positive charge, the atmosphere has a positive charge, the salt water carries the current, and the sun and the moon are the anode and the cathode of this system. So we got the anode and the cathode, the salt water and the salt bridge. That creates a battery. Go to your chemistry class and you'll learn all about that. So where is that? Here we go. So here's a little experiment we did with we had some leftover party balloons, and the little helium in them, and we tied it to this. It's got a button on the end here, and it's about 1.5 inches off the floor, 2 inches off the floor, whatever. And we have that wire going to a Van de Graaff generator, and we're able to introduce a positive charge. So we're just adding a little bit more of a positive charge. And when we do that, it gets heavier and it goes down. Now, do we change its mass or do we change its attraction to the negatively charged Earth? We discharge it, it goes up, right? That's very interesting. What about the opposite? So we can do the same thing here. You can just look this up on YouTube, tinfoil triangle, anti-gravity. We just put a negative charge into it. When we put the negative charge into it, we keep it in, it goes up. Are we defying that? Are we defying gravity or are we defying electrostatics, right? This is called the silent drone. It was made at MIT, just made this, I believe, last year, and it has no moving parts. It says it uses ionic wind, but all it's doing is changing its electrostatic force and keeping a negative charge in there, and it's able to fly with no moving parts, no sound, and it flies. This is technology that was being hidden from us because you can't charge for free energy when it's out there. So the electrostat, they also tell us the electrostatic force. This is going to be a hard one to pull together. This is what mainstream science tells us. The electrostatic force is 10 to the 36 power. That's 10 with 36 zeros power, stronger than gravity. Well, I just showed you that the electrostatic force is a real thing. If it's 10 to the 36 power, stronger than the weak force of gravity, they claim, they're telling us that gravity has zero, essentially zero force. Because if I drop something, right, drop my microphone, boom, that's because it's more dense than the air around it. Down is down because of the electrostatic flow of energy into the earth, and it's 10 to the 36 power stronger than gravity. You cannot even fathom what 10 to the 36 power is, because a trillion is 12 zeros or 15 zeros, 12 zeros, I think. Okay, that's not even close to 36 zeros. And a trillion, think about this, a trillion seconds. Anyone want to take a guess? Yell out a number. If you get it right, you win a Bitcoin. Ready? A trillion seconds is how long? I can't hear. Any number?
36 years.
36 years. Okay, a trillion seconds is 31,000 years. So when you hear these numbers being thrown around, you do the math yourself. Don't just believe me. 31,000 years is 1 trillion seconds, just to show you how big a trillion is. And they tell you the electrostatic force is 10 to the 36 power stronger than gravity. They're telling you that gravity is a joke and a lie. And I just proved it with electrostatics. Next.
Another question that came up is, if you don't mind just shifting a little bit, you mentioned about Antarctica earlier.
Yeah.
Question is Antarctica really a deserted continent?
So Antarctica, where'd it go? Where did my Antarctica button go? There it is. Antarctica is a very interesting place, and it's one place that we're not allowed to go physically, unsupervised. There's 100 companies that'll take you to the little tip off of Santiago, which is called Deception Island or Rothschild Island. Interesting names if you start looking into that. And no one is independently allowed to explore beyond the beyond 60 degrees south, which is still 1,000 miles or more from Antarctica. It is there's the Antarctic Treaty that came into play in the 1959, and essentially they make it impossible. We have tried to get just the permits, and we can't even get the papers to fill out the permits. They will not let you go. And people that have tried to sail to Antarctica have been stopped. Their ships have been seized. They've been arrested. They've been put in jail. For some reason, they don't want anybody going to Antarctica. All the images of Antarctica from space are CGI. They want you to believe that, although this is the edge of the world, this is what's called the ice wall. This is the shoreline of Antarctica. This is a gigantic ship right here, giant ship. And this is the shoreline of Antarctica. So what do they do? This is what they do. They take, if this is our world pond, right? We live here. This is the shoreline of our pond that contains our waters. This is Antarctica. We don't know what's out here. We don't know. But this is how they put your mind in a prison. They just cut out, they wrap it around a sphere, and they say, this is where you live, right? And you're not allowed to come within 1,000 miles of this shoreline. You're not allowed to go here, because this is off limits. Nobody has gone from Santiago to Australia over Antarctica or even around Antarctica, because that's not how it is. So let's take a look at this on Google Earth and see why it's not virtually allowed to go to, right? So I got Google Earth. You can do this. Just go to the online Google Earth and do the measuring tool, and I can measure South America. It tells me how many square miles it is, right? But then when I go down to Antarctica and I try to measure it, now try to wrap your mind around what you're about to see, and this is what they'll show us, okay? Look at this. Look at the way this, let me back it up a little bit. There we go. Look at the way this, it won't measure Antarctica. But if you think about it, how it's inverted, this is an inverted measurement, right? And then the only other place that happens to on Earth is in the north. When you go up to the North Pole and measure that, if you measure the North Pole, we get the same thing inverted. They will not let you measure it because it doesn't work, because the globe is a lie. They wrap the flat earth around it. Just to show you that it does work, I'll measure Greenland, and it works perfectly around Greenland. No problem. It's just the two poles, because they don't exist as explained, is where the issue is. I think I can go a little longer on that, or what? You want to go to another question?
Let's go to another question again, kind of maybe jumping around a little bit, but
Okay.
So we have a big solar eclipse coming up.
Yeah, in April.
On we're at least here in Ohio, we're have total blackout, total darkness, and all. Are you that's legit?
Well, eclipses are legit, but here's the thing is, we don't know exactly what causes an eclipse, but we can also rule out what doesn't cause an eclipse. And you have to remember, falsification is independent of replacement. For example, if you were accused of stealing the last cookie from a cookie jar and everybody was very upset and they're like, that's it, you stole the cookie. But I absolutely 100% prove that you weren't even in the same state as that cookie jar at that time. The accuser can't come to me and say, well, then who did it then? Until you tell me who did it, then he's guilty. And it's the same with proving the Earth, disqualifying the heliocentric model, and proving other things. So let's talk about solar eclipses. Solar eclipse is, where's my invisible eclipse? They tell us that it's the moon that's going in front of the sun. The problem is no telescope, not even from an airplane, space station, anywhere. Space station, by the way, I contend it's not real. No one has ever seen the moon approach, eclipse, or exit the face of the sun ever. They just see a missing part of the sun. So here's some solar eclipses. Do you see the moon? You could imagine that's the moon. It is a circular, supposedly a spherical thing blocking it, but nobody ever sees the actual moon. You just see missing sun. That is the sky. You're seeing the sky, and it's just missing. There's missing sun. No one has ever seen it. Now, people say, well, when you're looking at it, you can't. The sun's so bright, it's blinding the camera. We have ways to, you can block out the sun, but during a complete and total eclipse, you should be able to see the moon because you have a full Earth, because the sun is lighting up the Earth. If you were on the moon, you'd see a full Earth. And the Earth shine should light up the moon, just like they tell us the moon shine lights up the Earth. And no one has ever, ever, ever seen the moon. So what is it? What is it? This is gonna take another minute or two, but it's worth the time. This is what I call, this is my rear projection eclipse. So let me show you what I have here. This is an eclipse that I filmed. The sky was a little hazy, so it was really easy to film. And this is my rear screen projected. I have a paper towel and I have a projector behind it, and I'm eclipsing it, right? This is a filming of the eclipse. And while we're filming it, we saw this lens flare, but we saw this. This one isn't moving. It's stuck to the sun. So it can't be a lens flare. This is moving all over the place. It's a lens flare. What is this? Now, this is like an 85% eclipse, and this sun is actually 85% eclipsed, but you can't see it because it's just blowing out the lens because it's bright. But because it's so dim, we are able to see beyond it, and we can see what I call the source projector of the sun. So let's take some forward here. So back to my paper towel sky. I'm going to show you how I do this. I'm going to show you a side view in a second. And here's my projector, and I'm just taking a bottle cap and I'm eclipsing it. Now, you don't see the bottle cap coming in. You don't see it eclipsing it, but this is exactly what we see. You don't see the cap at all because it has no light being projected into our, what I call sky screen. So here it goes. It's going out. And now I did it with a paper, with a tissue paper, a little more transparent like our sky. And look right there. What is that? That's the projector behind the screen. And if we compare it to the actual eclipse, I see the same thing. This is a real eclipse, and this is a projected eclipse. So my contention is that the real source of the sun is inside the firmament, and we are seeing a projected image of it into our reality. A lot to take in. There's an entire section on my app on eclipses on the frequently asked question page, which is the question mark. And you can learn a ton more about eclipses.
I'm going to ask one more question, then we're opening it up for you guys here. And this is more of kind of a personal for you there. And that is, and you kind of alluded to this there. So do you feel space travel is legitimate? What do we make of landings on the moon and the space station?
Yeah. So it's I was young when the moon landings happened, and it was an amazing thing. And everybody believed it. And the reason people believe it is because how could they have a lie so big? Somebody would tell. The Russians would tell. China would tell. But in reality, all the space agencies all work together under NASA. And why do they do this? Hopefully we have time for why the lie. This is the moon rover. And what I see here is a bunch of really old, crappy beach chairs, an actual umbrella, spray painted gold, and a Jeep chassis. This is actually an old Jeep chassis, right? And that cost $38 million back in 1970, where this is $1 million cheaper with today's deflated dollars for this bad boy. So what's going on there? Is NASA stealing our money? Did they go to the moon? This is impossible. How do you have rubber tires on a moon? Wouldn't they just explode because there's no pressure? Try putting anything in a vacuum chamber that has air in it, and it explodes. Except for some reason, spacesuits they don't fill up, they don't explode, they don't puff up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man when in space. So, real quick, on the moon there is one source of light, the sun. So if we look here, the sun is off this way. Look at his shadow; it's going here, and we're just going to pan to the right. Right, this guy's going to go off to the right. We're going to pan to the right. We're just panning. Just think of the camera panning. The sun is over there, and we get over here, and now for some reason the sun is on this side of him, and his shadow is going away, and it goes a little farther to the right. I just jumped forward a little bit to save time, and now all of a sudden the sun is over there. How did the sun get over there? How did the shadow switch direction? Right, and then here is a zoom in in the middle part. And when we're going to zoom in on his visor, and we're going to see right here, you're going to see 4 square lights. 1, 2, and when he turns, here he comes. Hold on, jump forward a little bit. And when he turns, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 lights being reflected in his visor. What could that be? Could it be something like this? I don't know, but it can't be the sun. It can't be the sun. A single source light reflecting on him. The other thing is, this is the moon lander. This is the nozzle, and one of the big arguments is, why doesn't all the dust land on the feet? Why isn't there dust everywhere? Why isn't there a blast crater? There's no blast crater, but just notice the nozzle is down here. The nozzle is down here. Okay, the nozzle's down there. And also look at this. If somebody sheetrocked your basement like this, would you pay them? This is supposedly a spaceship made out of tinfoil and curtain rods, and it's just ridiculous. But here's the launch of the LEM when the 2 guys were on there, and they have to meet up with the orbiter. The other piece is orbiting at 2,000 miles an hour around the moon. It's traveling 2,000 miles. Now remember, the nozzle's right here. Oh, look, they left the nozzle there. So now this thing is just gliding It's gliding. It's going to go up and meet the orbiter that's going 2,000 miles an hour, and it's going to connect to it. There's two grown men in there moving around. What if one of them sneezed? Wouldn't that send the thing toppling? There's no resistance in space, right? The idea that this thing is going to go up and meet up with something traveling 2,000 miles an hour is just a religious belief. This is the guy alone in the orbiter. Now, this is filmed in a zero-G plane that does a parabolic arc to make like 27 seconds of weightlessness. Look, isn't that cool? The thing is floating up, right? What is he? What is on there? What numbers are on here? What is he doing anyway? But who's panning that camera up? Who's panning the camera up? He's alone in space. This is all just like, ooh, things are floating. They're in space. How cool. So there you go. I can go on for 2 hours and we wouldn't even touch the amount of fakery in the moon. You know what? Let me just go to rockets for a second because that's part of this. So I'm going to show you a rocket. And this is a SpaceX rocket that is supposed to be real. Okay. So this rocket is supposed to go to Mars. This is a test Elon Musk did. So you got this rocket, it weighs tens of thousands of pounds, and it's going to do a test launch. And so we have this edit. They always edit. Now look how slow this thing is going. This little flame is pushing this thing up, right? Okay. Now think, you got these terrestrial ground-based cameras. We can see the sides. How far up is this? Not very high. The engines, now it's up really high. Now it's not that high. Now look, the thrust is done. It's the engines are turned off, and this is, I just cut out some sections, but this is real time. Now look at this thing. This thing is free falling. It's tens of tons, right? It's falling, but look at the smoke. And watch in a second. Look how slow the smoke is going. Is this free falling from orbit? How are we filming the side of it? Now look. All of a sudden, look how high it is from the onboard picture. None of this makes sense. Now look at this thing. Excuse me. This thing is going to turn on its engines, magically turn upright, and it's going to land right on the pad. So watch. The cameraman's going to get underneath it. Oh, look at that edit. Beautiful. 2 of the 3 engines are going to burn out. Watch. So this one off-center engine is going to land this thing upright. CGI smoke. And it's going to land upright. Now, does anyone believe that's real? Maybe I'm joking you. Maybe this wasn't a real launch. This is a real launch. You need to go verify this yourself. All of this stuff is fake, and they fake it in multiple different ways. There are people that watch rockets go up, but what they're watching from a great distance is a trick. It's a trick.
Got about 15 minutes left, so I want to open it up for student questions.
Okay.
So much to think about. Josh, would start us off.
So you're saying that gravity doesn't exist and things just like down is down. How do you explain gravitational acceleration? And even when you're talking about when they're faking the astronaut in the orbiter, how his papers just went up, and you're explaining that they were in a zero-G environment. How does all that correlate?
Okay, so when I talk about the zero-G plane, it's not it's an airplane, and you can actually do this yourself. I think it costs like $5,000. It's a big jetliner. It gains speed, and then it goes up, and then it does this parabolic arc, and you get about 27 seconds of weightlessness. It's not that you're weightless, it's that the plane is falling at the same rate that you're falling in this parabolic arc. It's called the zero-G plane. You can look it up. And so that's how they float, and they film this. And if you watch all the stuff on the space station, edit. They take like 50 flights, they edit it together, and they show you a 1-minute film. And then what was the beginning of your question? It was
Gravitational acceleration.
Gravitational acceleration. So did you know that during electrical storms, things fall at different rates? Things fall at different rates at different times at different places around the Earth. And that's because, when lightning strikes, sometimes it'll strike the ground, and whoever's standing there will go flying in the air. That's because it changed the Earth to a positive charge for a second, and it sent you flying in the air. So the whole gravitational constant, I'm just basing on the rate that things fall is just an average. It's an average. It's not the same. And the fact that during electrical storms things fall at different rates, that should prove to you that it's not gravity. On the app, there's a whole in the frequently asked questions section. There's a section called gravity, and if you click that, there's tons right there. Gravity is right there. So, tons of stuff about gravity.
Jordan, you have a question?
Yeah. So you're obviously very passionate about this. I was just wondering, like, what triggered your belief for this, and like what got you like fully into this whole theory?
Yeah. So when I was doing a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, looking into other deceptions of the world, people started sending me flat earth stuff, and I just said, that's funny," and then it got annoying, and then I would ban them for life. They're not even allowed to comment, and I would tell them, "Don't even listen to our podcast. You need to go back to school. The earth can't be flat. That's stupid." And then a researcher who I trust very much, we were talking about how much deception there is in this world and how unbelievable it is, and it's just shocking. And she goes, "Oh, David, it's worse than that. I think the earth might be flat." And I was like, "No, not you too." And she sent me a couple of videos. And the thing is, where do you get your information from? YouTube? YouTube is just a place like life where it gives you all sorts of information. It gives you, nonsense. It gives you good stuff. It gives you everything, just like life. And you have to use your own discernment. But back in 2014, 2015, when you would watch something about flat earth, YouTube would go, "Hey, you like that? Here's another thing that another researcher put up." But now, since 2017, they've changed the algorithm where you search flat earth, search for me, you're going to find just propaganda. You're going to find nonsense. You're not going to find any of the videos. My YouTube channel, DITRH, which stands for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, I have all short videos there, but you can search for them. They won't come up. They won't show up. You have to actually go to my channel and find them. So, I went in with hey, you got an open mind. You want to figure something out. You look at things and you look at it with, an open mind to find the truth. I went in with a closed mind. I said, flat earth is stupid. I'm going to prove the globe and disprove flat earth. And it's everyone that does that becomes a flat earther. There's tens of millions of flat earthers now. Back in 2017, they did in Brazil, they asked people, and 11 million, I think it was 11 million people thought the earth was flat. That's back in 2017, and it's just in the little country of Brazil. So some people are claiming that there's 33% of Americans think the earth is flat at this point. I don't think it's that high, but that's what a study showed. But the thing is, if we did a study and people that watch my videos, it would be 98% think the earth is flat. So, I don't know the study, but it's growing. This is a map of the people just here in the United States that have my app. Okay, these are people that are on the Friend Finder. This represents less than 1% of the flat earthers on Earth. Okay, they're everywhere, and then basically when you get this many people looking at something, it's called the hive mind. The hive mind will always find the truth, right? If you had 1,000 people look at a thing of jelly beans and everybody guessed how many jelly beans, take the mean number and it's probably within 1 or 2 or even dead on of the actual number of jelly beans. And when you have enough people looking at something, they look at it from enough angles that they'll find something wrong with it, but no one has been able to disprove flat earth. And I have a 3 Bitcoin challenge out there, which is, I think it's $125,000, $130,000 right now. Any scientist, anybody that can give me one proof of the globe. If we live on a globe and I'm a radical, give me one proof of the globe and you win $130,000, and nobody can do it. And the reason I'm not offering more is because I don't have more to give, right? I could say, make it 5,000 Bitcoins, make it, $100 million, but that's not a real bet because I couldn't come up with it. So, so there you go. It's the thing is, the scientism, they always what's called straw manning us. They always say, well, flat earthers think the earth is rising at 9.8 meters per second. No, flat earthers do not think that, right? They'll take one crazy flat earther. Yes, there's crazy flat earthers out there. There's crazy everybody's out there. They'll take one stupid thing somebody says and they'll promote that. Like, flat earthers think this. Flat earther tried to prove the earth was flat by jumping in a steam-powered rocket and he ended up killing himself. And that wasn't a flat earther. That's a story that they put out there to make you laugh at flat earthers. All right, next.
Let me just ask a question here, and then Claire has a question here. You mentioned about the scientific community being very adamantly opposed to flat Earth. Why do you think that is? Do you think that what do they have to gain by believing in a round Earth?
Well, most of the scientific community, they actually believe it because that's what they were indoctrinated with. One of the first things you learn in school is why is the orbit of the sun and the moon. We all had that little thing, the orbit of the planets. It's part of the indoctrination because the why the lie, what difference does it make? I still have to go to school on Monday or go to work on Monday. That's what we've been trained to see. But the truth is, what if there's more? What if this place is more? What if there's more land? What if there's more continents? What if they're hiding things like free energy? What if they're hiding more resources? They want us to believe that we're overpopulated. They want us to believe that we're running out of fossil fuels, and we shouldn't be pulling oil out of the earth when there's free energy in the air. Back in the 1800s, they had electric cars that pulled energy out of the air, but they took that technology away from us. We had airships, like everyone thinks, oh, the Hindenburg, that was a psyop to make airships go away. They demonized hydrogen, and guess who controls all of the helium on Earth? That's NASA. Why does NASA control all the helium? And so why the lie? They're hiding free energy, they're hiding more land, they're hiding your true position in this world. They want you to believe that you're insignificant, you're floating on a speck in an infinite universe, and that you're meaningless, and that an asteroid can take you out at any second. They're hiding so much. They're hiding your true potential. But on the app, which you can find on my website, if you go to Why the Lie, which is right here, amazing videos. And basically the bottom line is, he who creates it owns it. So if we're on their fake ball, which is, and I'll say this word, it's a satanic model. All of the numbers, it's all 666s. It's crazy. But if they create a fake globe and they create fake money, fiat currency. So if you play on their monopoly board with their monopoly money, then you have to play by their rules. And that's what it's all about. It's all about control. Controllers of this world are not going to educate the sheeple that we call, that they refer to us as, to a point where they could challenge their authority. So the people that have taken over this world after what appears to be a reset in the 1800s, they don't want you to know your true potential. They don't want you living to your true potential.
Thank you. Claire, you had a question?
How would you say planes fly?
Say that again.
How would you say that planes fly?
Yeah, so airplanes, and the truth about airplanes is they don't know how airplanes fly. Right? They said, well, the wings curved and low pressure. Well, how does an airplane fly upside down? A stunt plane, right? Wouldn't that just suck it right to the ground? There's a electros. It has to do more with the electrostatic charge of the wings as they're going fast through the air, creating a current. But that's a whole nother thing. But they want you to believe that we're spinning and whirling and twirling on this. That's not what I want to show. What am I looking for? They want us to believe that we're that's not it. Also, they want us to believe that we're flying over a spinning ball, right? We're flying over, where is it? Here we go. We're flying over a ball like this. Well, this isn't right because the earth is spinning at the same time. So this is what they want us to believe, that we're flying, nosing down, going around in a figure eight around a spinning ball. The earth is moving 1,000 miles an hour right here at the equator. Up here, it's moving 500 miles an hour. And at the North Pole, it's not moving at all. So how's this plane changing its sideways tangential movement, speeding up and slowing down, speeding up and slowing down? An airplane would have to nose down over the curve to follow the curve. The gyro that tells them when they're level would have to also follow it, but gyros hold rigidity in space. You have to look up at gyros and how that works. So airplanes fly straight and level over the earth plane. The sea is level. The sea is not curved, sea level. So airplanes fly from point to point over a flat earth.
We have time for one more question. There's a question for. Hey, Jordan.
Okay, so using the logic of what you said as an open mind, are you also open to the round earth theory as well?
Of course, I used to be a globe earther, but the amount of evidence that I have seen that absolutely 100% disproves the scientifically impossible globe model, I truly doubt if no one will ever convince me of it because I've looked already. I've looked and I've seen. Now I'm open to more information. Flat earthers, they won't change their mind. No, we were globe earthers. We changed our mind. It's you. It's the people that believe in the globe that have not proven that they're able to change their mind based on new information. The thing is, all those blue dots I showed you, nobody leaves the flat earth once they see it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So yeah, I'm open to it, but there is no curvature. On a ball, there is required to be curvature at a certain difference, at a certain distance. But there is no curvature. I have time to show you a 1 minute. Do I have like one more minute?
Yeah, about a minute. Yeah.
Okay. So this is I'm trying to find it real quick. This is a lake, a frozen lake. Here we go. This is a frozen lake. That. And we got a guy with a camera on it, and his camera is 6 inches off the ground. And we set up these lights at 8 miles, 7 miles, 6 miles, and 5 miles, using, even with ridiculous refraction, taking the lowest number possible on Earth. This light should be 30 feet below the horizon, 22 feet, 15 feet, and 9 feet below the horizon, below a physical Earth curve. The Earth is a globe. There's a physical Earth curve. But we can see them all, and they all show up on the same line, kind of like the Earth is flat, because they'd all have to refract up different amounts for us to see them at that level. And that's, there is no curvature, there is no ball. You can find all my information, flatearthdave.com. Go there, turn off Netflix for a week, guys. Scroll down to where it says Crash Course. You'll see a big picture of me. Click that, and there's a whole bunch of videos. Sit down and watch those videos. You'll love them. They're awesome. And I guarantee you, after 2 or 3 of them, you're going to be like, oh my God, Earth is not a ball.
David, we want to thank you for taking time out to present to us.
All right, guys. Thanks.